Today we have Plus Profile number 25. Can't believe we've done 25 of these. A Plus Profile is where I take gamers like myself and interview them and ask them gaming questions about their history, what games they liked, and what they're looking forward to the upcoming MMO Pantheon Rise of the Fallen. Today I have a very special guest, Therek, the loremaster and ranger. Obviously I know him because we work together on all the Pantheon Plus stuff. So I hope you enjoy this video. Onward and upward.
My name will be Therek Firefletch. I'll be an Ember Elf Ranger, and the reason being is that I really like the aesthetic of elves. I just sort of feel like they have a strong culture and a good backstory, and why a ranger is because I've always gravitated towards classes that have sort of utility skills and ranged combat. I really enjoy ranged combat, so there you go. Well, I had to think about this because I didn't remember exactly when I heard about it, but if I recall correctly, I used to read PC Gamer magazine quite a bit. And when I stopped reading the actual magazine, I would go to the site and check out, news and whatever. And I think it was there that I read that Brad McQuaid was sort of undertaking a new campaign to develop his next great MMO. And that was back in the days when Kickstarter was in its heyday, and the glory days. I think it was around 2012, 2013 kind of thing. And I was one of those people that was big into Kickstarter projects. I threw a lot of money at some projects that, some failed, most failed, some delivered. So when I saw the Pantheon Kickstarter and I connected with it, I definitely put a pledge down. I pledged to a Knight's Pledge, I think it was. And I've been following the project sort of on and off ever since, more closely in the last 2.5 or so years. I do. I'm a council member of the Plus Guild. Now, like a lot of people, I'm one of those old EverQuest junkies. I was around for EverQuest from the start. And, I've talked a lot about EverQuest in various places about why I loved it and what made it great. And, I think about it a lot, and I think oftentimes I try to boil it down to whatever, the base essence of something and why it was so great. And for me, I think what it was is that EverQuest wasn't afraid to be what it was. You could sort of unpack a lot from that statement, but I think what that really means is that EverQuest was designed to challenge you, to learn the world. Whether that was, and that can mean a lot of things. That can mean like the geography, it can mean the combat, even just how to earn money, how to make a living, and gear yourself appropriately through just buying things. And the thing is, if you failed at any one of those aspects, you were allowed to fail, which is great and such a strange thing to say, but there were really no safeguards. There was no railings, except for very few. And when you did succeed because of that, you felt like you'd earned it and you felt good. And I look back at EverQuest and I think it really gave me a lot of confidence just as a person in general. It made me a better person by not coming down to my level, rather asking me and challenging me to come to its level. So, and I don't think there's a lot of games that I've ever done that. So I really respect that. And that's what I liked about EverQuest, and my favorite MMO RPG of all time for sure. Well, I have a few, but the one I've told a few times, and I still think it's the best, is so in EverQuest, when I wanted to do my Ranger Epic, that was a long camp. It was a 24-hour camp, and fortunately I had a good guild, and I had a really close friend in EverQuest that we spent a lot of time together, and she was willing to help me out with this camp. So what you had to do was, in Carnor's Castle, there was one of the bosses in Carnor's Castle was named Veneral Sathir. And he was, like I said, a 24-hour camp, and you had to get this item. So we were tag teaming the camp, basically. I would sit there for like 12 hours, rest. She would take up the next shift. And we did that. And when he spawned, we called in the guild. They came in to help us out, and as you did. And we killed him successfully, which is great. I'm excited, my heart's pumping. It's been 24 hours, and I knelt down to loot the item. The loot window pops up, and sure enough, I go link dead. And if you played EverQuest back in the day, that your internet connection was not like it is today, where it's always stable and on sort of thing. You would lose your connection more often than not. So I freaked out, panicked, like my EverQuest life sort of flashing before my eyes, because this was a lot of work. get logged back in, connected. Sure enough, I opened my inventory and the item was there. I think it was an orb, if I remember correctly, some sort of like sphere or something like that. And I just, it just felt like I exhaled for a long time, just because it was such a relief that it was still there. And she was happy. She was freaking out just as much as I was, because she'd put in a lot of work. And of course, I had to reciprocate, because she needed her epic as well. She was a druid, and we had to go and I had to help her out with that. So it's just a great story of working together, but also the issues that EverQuest had, and some of the trials that you went through. And sometimes it paid off, sometimes you won all, and sometimes you lost it all. So like I said earlier, it's one of those things that I really respect. Well, I wasn't a huge raider, if I'm being perfectly honest. I didn't do a ton of it. I did Plane of Fear, I did Plane of Hate. I did some minor raids, the Hole one time, which is sort of a weird off the beaten path kind of place. But my first time raiding was Plane of Fear, as a lot of people I think were. It was sort of the first one. And Kazakh Thule wasn't actually, I didn't remember him being that difficult. What was difficult about Plane of Fear when I played was breaking in and trying to get to a spot where you could get set up and get everything in order to actually rid the zone of as much trash as you could, and then go to Kazakh Thule and do it. So breaking into Plane of Fear was tough. And I don't think we successfully did it the first time. I think it took a couple tries. But we did eventually. And and then we took down Kazakh. But I think just the name Plane of Fear, you're afraid. You're afraid of losing your corpse in a place that very few people actually can get to. I mean, it's not like losing your corpse in a middle of Karana or something like that, where anybody can grab it, or even in a dungeon that's a little bit more difficult. This is a plane, right? You're not getting your corpse out if you lose it there. At least back in the day, that's how it was. So the raid boss itself wasn't that difficult. It was getting to the raid boss that was difficult. PvE 100% all the way. I'm the type of person, I like to work with people. I don't like to I don't really like to go against, and I don't like the spirit of PvP. I'm not a big somebody who enjoys sort of that aspect of MMOs. I feel like there's a lot of competition just in life in general, just in day to day. You want to trying to sort of with your job, or maybe with your what you're trying to do with other aspects of your life. There's a lot of competitiveness, and I don't really look for that when I look for an escapism, when I look to enjoy something. I'm looking for more of a cooperative experience. So definitely PvE all the way. Main for life. There's really only so many hours in the day, and I think whenever I think about spreading my time out amongst different characters, I always think, well, I could be putting more time into my main. I mean, I should really be focusing on developing them, because if I don't, they're never going to get to I'm never going to go as far as I can possibly go. I'll just end up spending too much energy spreading it around. So I'm one of those people that definitely focuses on my main. I do have usually one, alt character that I like to play if it's something that it's a completely different playstyle, or if I just want a break, a change of pace for something. But then I don't take it very seriously. I just sort of, goof around with it and, experiment and see what it's all about. I feel like, I feel like I need to commit to something, and that's my main. So I main for life. I do crafting. I'm kind of a woodworker slash fletching, that kind of thing, because I play a ranger. I like the idea of being creating my own gear. I'm not the merchant type. I'm not the kind of person that will, would ever set up a shop and try to become like the best crafter on the server, or a significant crafter. I'm more about just building up my main, like I said. So if I can use it, then I'm interested. So when I'm doing, dungeons or raiding or anything like that, it also gives you an extra incentive to find something that you can use to craft with. So I'm not just hunting for gear, I'm also hunting for crafting materials that I can use. I enjoy crafting. I think it's a fun pastime. I like it as a solo experience if I'm not feeling social, or I don't have time to group up. It's something that I find fills the gap really well. But it's mostly for my own purposes. So stuff I can use: arrows, leather armor, bows, that kind of thing. This one is easy. My gaming food has always been well, in Canada here we call it Kraft dinner. I think just everywhere else it's just macaroni and cheese, but it's made by Kraft. You know, I've always, that one blue box is the perfect amount. It's so easy to make, and it's the perfect amount. And when I do it, I have a very specific way of doing it, and it's for gaming, right? Is that I eat it straight out of the pot with the spoon that I use to like stir the water and like make it. So it's like there's no dishes involved, there's no utensils involved. It's just this big pot of macaroni and cheese with the spoon, this huge oversized spoon, right? And you just, you know, you can eat it while you're gaming kind of thing. And the key is to not add too much milk. A lot of people make this mistake, and it's gross when you add too much milk. You got to add very little milk so that it keeps that good Kraft sort of flavor. So that's my gaming food. And as for a drink, I don't know. I'm just a coffee guy, so I'll drink coffee, but not at the same time as a Kraft dinner. They don't really go together. So stick with the Kraft dinner. Well, I've got a kind of a weird answer for this one because I'm a bit of an enthusiast when it comes to like old computers. I grew up, you know, back in the early 90s with my first, the old computers and the Sierra games, that kind of thing. And I recently rebuilt my first computer that I ever owned. So I actually have a functional 286 processor, 12 megahertz system with an original Sound Blaster card, with a VGA card, floppy disk drives, and an old CRT monitor. It's actually just behind me on my left here. And I love it. I'm really proud of it because it was actually hard to find that, you know, it's hard to find old parts for it. So, you know, you say, you know, favorite gaming hardware. That's my favorite gaming hardware right now because it's kind of different, kind of unique. And if you look behind me, you can see I have a big collection of big box PC games as well in the shelves back there. And I can actually play most of them on that system, which I love. So that's my favorite piece of hardware right now. Well, I mean, I make videos about Pantheon's lore, exploring the lore, right here on this very YouTube channel, on the Pantheon Plus YouTube channel. You can find them. You can find them here. You can also go to my Twitter, which is @Pantheon Therek. Just pinned tweet at the top has a link to the playlist, which is Therek's Perception of Pantheon. And so if you want to reach out to me on Twitter, I'm there. You can also get me on Discord. It's Therek2057 on Discord. Yeah, absolutely. You know, I just wanted to say that I love being a part of the Pantheon community. When I first started to sort of get involved, you know, I figured it was such a good endeavor and such a good use of my time, and I don't regret a second of it, no matter what the ups and downs are. And I just wanted to say to anybody who's watching this, you know, if you're thinking about getting involved with this game, or even just you're in the community and you want to contribute anything, whether that's an idea to develop or a project, some sort of creative project you have going on in your mind, to sort of back in your mind, you know, don't hesitate, you know, don't overthink it, because that's something that I do sometimes, is I'll overthink it and then I just won't do it. Just go with it, you know, do it. Don't be afraid. Seize the moment, you know. We might not get another MMO like this, you know, developed in our lifetime at least. So, you know, seize the day and, you know, make Pantheon the experience you want it to be by being involved in the community. That's my philosophy anyway, so. There was a while ago somebody asked me this, and I said August 9th, 2021. So I'm going to walk that back a little bit, and I'm going to say August 9th, 2022. So I'm going to push it forward a year.